Hello my friend, in today's video I'm going to be talking about some of the important things that we need to know in order to speak English fluently. And there are a lot of things that we don't know. That is one of the big reasons why we are not able to speak English fluently. So I'm going to be talking about 4 things that we all have to know from now, and the speed of our learning English will be more than if we don't know about all of those things. So the first thing my friend, and let me introduce you that who I am. So it is me Himanshu Yadav, and welcome on my channel Triple H English. So the first thing that I'm going to be talking about is that we have to focus on entire sentences. You know my friend, when we are starting speaking English, so we have so many doubts that how should we read, how should we try to speak English, and what are all those important elements that we need to focus on. So we have so many doubts, especially when we are starting. So of course that we tend to make those sort of mistake because we don't know about all of those things, about all of those important elements that we have to know. So the first thing that I told you is that we don't have to pay that much attention on every single word. That's not the thing that we have to do. We have to start focusing on the entire sentences, because you know, if you are getting into each and every structure of English, then we may feel bored. So that is one of the big reasons why I'm suggesting you to focus on entire sentences when we are starting of our journey of speaking English. And the second thing my friend that I'd like to tell you is that don't try to imitate somebody, because the problem here is that when we are trying to imitate somebody or when we are trying to copy somebody, then we will have to choose the pace and the rhythm that that person is using. So if we are not using the pace and the rhythm of our own, then we may have to face difficulty while trying to speak. So that's why we have to talk with our own style, with our own pace and rhythm, and with our own style. So that's the thing that I would like to tell, that we have to have our own pace. We don't have to copy or imitate anybody else, because if you are copying or imitating somebody else, then we may not be able to explain the thing that we have to explain in a totally easy to understand way. So that's the reason we have to have our own pace and our own style and rhythm, then we'll be able to make anything understand in a very easy way. So that's why we have to have our own pace. It is quite important. Don't try to run after anybody accent or anybody pace or rhythm. Just try to have your own thing, and the having your own thing is gonna make you a totally unique. Because if you're trying to be somebody else, that's not the thing that we are supposed to do. We all are totally unique. So that's the point that we need to understand. And if we all are totally unique, my friend, then why are we trying to be somebody else? It's not a fair thing to do. So that's why we have to have our own pace, and that's when English is gonna come out of our mouth automatically in a natural way. And if we're trying to do something that somebody else is doing, that's not the unique thing. We are just copying somebody else. That's not the unique thing that we are doing, and it's not the human tendency to do. So that's why we have to have our own face to express somebody to express something to somebody in a very natural way. And if we are using our own style, our own technique to explain the thing, then that is going to be more understandable. So that's why I want you to use this sort of thing. And the third thing, my friend, that I'm gonna tell you is that we have to use a lot of contraction. And contraction is something that a lot of native are using this, and you also have to use contraction, because you know, when you are listening in native and when you don't have that much idea about contraction, then it can be really hard for all of us to understand native speaker. So in order to understand native, or in order to speak English in a flow, in a very natural way, we have to start using contraction. And without it, it's like we are living without water or food. So that's why we gotta use the contraction every single day, or else we tend to forget all of those things. So using in our daily conversation, in our talk, when we are talking to somebody else, is going to be very sufficient or very unnecessary. If you are using, my friend, of course, then we may remember the thing that we have to remember for a long time. So that's why we have to start we have to start using those things in our daily conversation. And contraction is the thing that is not avoidable. So we can't avoid this sort of important thing. We have to use this sort of thing at any cost. And the fourth thing, my friend, that I'm gonna talk about is that we have to use some of the filler word as well. You know, if you don't know about the filler words, so let me tell you something about that. So filler word is something that has no meaning actually, and that is going to give us time to think about the thing that we are going to explain to somebody else. So that is, and in reality my friend, filler is nothing but a garbage.